Unsolved.
Episode 195, JonBenet Case, Chapter 2. After re-examining Chapter 2 of The Death of Innocence, I have noticed some discrepancies between what Patsy said earlier and what the book says, and so I'm going to point those things out. And instead of reading the whole chapter, I'm just going to read a sentence, and then I might skip a few sentences and then read a sentence and maybe add words or take words out. And there's nothing dishonest about this because there it is right in front of you. So if you want to pause and read it yourself, you can. I hear John turning on the water in his bathroom. I swing out of bed and abruptly remember that my shower is still broken. Don't need one this morning, I think to myself. Just put my clothes on, and of course my makeup. Got to be at the airport by 6:30 or so. I reach for my clothes and start dressing. Minutes later, I hurry down the back stairs from our bedroom to the second floor. Need to get a few things for the trip, I think to myself. I hurry down the spiral staircase to the bottom floor and stop. I went to my bathroom. I did not shower that morning. I just put my clothes on and did my hair and makeup. And then I started down the stairs. John was still in the bathroom and I stopped kind of briefly there in the laundry room area. And I remember the ironing board was up, I think, and I fussed around with this little red jumpsuit of JonBenet's because it had some spots on it. And I was going to remember to do something with that when I got back. So I had the light on in there in the laundry area. And then I started down the spiral staircase. I came down the back bedroom staircase there. Okay. From my bathroom, I started down the spiral staircase, and when I got nearly to the bottom, I saw the 3 pieces of paper, like notebook-sized paper, on the run of the stairs. I went on down, turned around, and started reading it. Now you can see in the book, she's changed a few things. Her shower being broken was added in. She's removed the part about removing the spots or something from JonBenet's red jumpsuit. What's this, I wonder? I turn around to look at 3 pieces of paper on a step near the bottom. I bend over. And don't touch it because I don't want to touch a ransom note. Must be a note from the cleaning lady, Linda Hoffman, I think. Probably reminding me that she needs to borrow $2,500. I must leave a check on the kitchen counter before we leave. And I remember reading the first couple of lines, and I kind of didn't know what it was, and then after the first couple of lines, it dawned on me. It said something about, we have your daughter or something. And I ran back upstairs and pushed open the door to her room, and she wasn't in her bed. Now you can see here, Patsy added in this part about Linda Hoffman and the check for the money, where in the police interview, she didn't say anything about that. Also, in another television interview, I heard her say that she thought the note was talking about John Ramsey's older daughter, not JonBenet at first, and she was confused when she was reading the note. I gasped for air. I raced back upstairs and stumbled toward JonBenet's bedroom. Pushed the door wide open. The bed is empty. John, help, I scream. JonBenet's gone. He meets me wearing only his underwear. There's a note downstairs. I can barely speak. Someone has taken JonBenet. She's gone, I cry. JonBenet is gone. John tears down the stairs. He seems to be shouting, but nothing makes any sense. Burke, John yells. What about Burke? And I screamed for John. He was up in our bedroom still, and he came running down, and I told him that there was a note that said she had been kidnapped. And I think he said, I said, what should I do? What should I do? Or something. And he said, call the police. And I think somewhere, I remember I said something about, check Burke. And I think he ran back and checked Burke. And I ran back down the stairs. And then he came downstairs. He was just in his underwear. And he took the note. And I remember him being down, hunched on the floor, red, with all the 3 pages out, like reading it. Now here in the book, Patsy has added in that both Patsy and John went and checked on Burke, but in her police interview, she doesn't talk about going in and checking on Burke. And here, to the outside observer, there's confusion because she doesn't have the ransom note. So John runs down to the first floor, looks at the ransom note, and she goes to check on Burke, and then John runs back up and checks on Burke, and then she runs back down to the ransom note, and then John runs down and then spreads the note out and reads it, and she calls 911. And so it's just odd that she doesn't have the ransom note in her hand. Both of us race to Burke's room at the far end of the 2nd floor and find him apparently still asleep. Best not to arouse him until we figure out what's happening here, I think. He's better off asleep for now. I step into the hall. Do you remember waking up that next morning, ready to go to Charlevoix? Burke, I just remember my mom rushing in my room, flipping the lights on, looking around, and rushing out. Okay, was Mom upset? Yeah. Have you ever seen Mom like that before? No. So, what went through your mind then? Then I thought maybe JonBenet was missing, but that's not that likely. I mean, what are the chances of that happening? Who is the next person you saw? The policeman going into my room. No, it was either my dad coming in and turning off the lights, or a policeman coming into my room looking around. Wait. It was my dad coming into my room and turning off the lights. And then there was the policeman coming in and looking around with a flashlight. Burke's testimony seems to line up with what Patsy states in chapter 2 in the book. But you can see what I'm talking about, where Patsy says he's better off asleep for now. Like she really thought that at the time? I don't think so. What strikes me, looking back at this after some period of time, is John's behavior. He goes into Burke's room and turns out the lights. He goes down to the 1st floor and looks over the ransom note when it seems like he already knows about the ransom note, and Patsy is calling. And even though Patsy's testimony is messed up and she doesn't recall it correctly, it seems honest, but his behavior seems cold and calculated and like he knows what's going on. That's just what I see right now. I went into this video like kind of criticizing Patsy and showing that she's guilty, but I'm coming out of it like John's guilty. Because here's another big difference. In the book, it says, Burke, John yells, what about Burke? But in Patsy's police testimony, Patsy says, oh my God, what about Burke? Patsy is the one that was worried about Burke, not John. And here's another thing that might not be as significant, but is significant to me. Patsy says, I said that there was a note and that our daughter had been kidnapped and we were trying to get the money, and I don't remember. This was really early on. The policeman had just got to their house, and she's talking about them getting the money. Sounds like a suggestion from John Ramsey.
And more breaking news on the murder of JonBenet Ramsey. 26 years after her murder, Boulder police say they'll start working with the Colorado Cold Case Review Team next year. They've been working with a private DNA lab for decades, but now they say they'll work with the team's forensic, analytical, and investigative experts. JonBenet's murder the day after Christmas remains a priority for Boulder police.
Got to get the money, I think to myself. We've got to get the money. I start through the kitchen toward the front door entry. Money will get her back. Just get the money. I mumble, trying to calm down, but feeling everything slipping away from me. After a while, I see the headlights of a squad car, which slowly comes to a stop across the street in front of our house. Patsy's entry in the book lines up with her police interview that she was concerned about raising the money. Here, the book switches back to John Ramsey. For the first time, I am aware that I have been racing around the house in my underwear. I hurry back to the third-floor bedroom to grab my clothes. I stop in JonBenet's room and look under the bed to make sure she isn't there. We know that JonBenet had partially digested food in her digestive system. So how about Patsy's asleep? Burke gets out the bowl of pineapple and the iced tea for himself and JonBenet, who got up. And Burke is put to bed. And JonBenet ends up being murdered. Well, this ends this episode of Unsolved. And next Friday, I'll go deeper into the book and I'll point out some interesting facts in the book. And tomorrow night, Saturday night, we'll look at the Zodiac Killer case some more. See you next time.